Okay, time for an update. So the Gseat is now working. I just don't know if these back motors are going to be strong enough. We've got it hooked up and running the roller coaster simulator currently, so I just wanted to show you guys kind of what that looks like in action. And there's the surge. We're currently climbing the roller coaster there, so it's pressing you back in your seat, but you know, the seat's pressing back into you. The heave mechanics with the two wheelchair motors, wow, like wow, it will pick you fully up out of the chair. Let's see if it, like, just that, like, it will pick you all the way up. Very impressive, those motors, 24 volt. Ooh, wow, we got a little flappy flap. So currently I just have it set to do heave, surge, and sway. See the roller coaster running. I don't know if I can get both of those in the same shot here. So I mean, it's got pretty good articulation. It's just that these flaps here, if you put pressure on them, then you can hold them. They do actually have a lot of play in them, and I'm pretty sure these mounts here aren't as stable as I would like them to be. I could stiffen those up, but B, these control arms here, oops, don't do that. Those control arms there just have a ton of slop in them, so it makes it real difficult. Considering replacing them, but you know, I just got this thing working, so we'll see how that goes. Then replaced all the potentiometer. Well, replaced the two potentiometers in the bottom. I didn't replace the two potentiometers in the back, because I wasn't sure if I was going to replace those motors. If I do, then I would be looking at replacing them with those and just making the entire system 24 volt. And I mean, it would definitely make it real punchy and strong, that's for sure. I just don't want to waste another two wheelchair motors on this Gseat. I'd rather just scrap it and pull those two motors and just build a toot-off with them. It'd be better than just having, you know, a half-working Gseat. But did replace those the potentiometer connections, and what did I end up doing was, last time I posted a video, I built pulleys for rubber bands, pulleys with little grooves in them. Actually, if we look in my pile of fail, those are the mounts there, and then these are the pulleys with the rubber bands, and the rubber bands were terrible. Let's turn that off. The rubber bands were terrible. Once the motor started to rotate, the elasticity in the rubber band would mean that this would rotate a fair amount before the potentiometer even moved, so it would have terrible variance. So what I ended up doing instead was just getting GT2 2mm belt and these brass clamp connections. Figured out a way to print GT2 pulleys. So this is the one that goes on the shaft. It's a 17mm inner diameter with, I believe, 50 teeth. 45 teeth, I'm not really sure, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've been working on all this. So print the ones that go on the motor shaft, then the two that go on the potentiometer shaft, and then the side plates for them. And so they end up, oh, where's my hand? They end up looking like this, which is pretty much serviceable. It works. As you can see, you've got one on here. I've done all of my motors except for this one right here and these two back here. All the motors now have GT2 pulleys and belts, and it works flawlessly. It's the 3-DOF downstairs works perfectly now. All the potentiometer issues, all the jankiness is gone. The traction loss motor might be at its limit, because that is a little janky at some points, but that's going to require further investigation. So yeah, completely redid all the pulleys. Another thing I did was I tested my IBT2s. Get there. So all the ones I tested, I basically had this motor hooked up in the vise, just clamped on here into the vise, and then I have this, don't fall, 7-inch lever arm here with a bolt hanging out of it, and then off that bolt I hung this bucket right here. It's got 40 pounds of sand bags that go inside of this weight vest. It's a 40-pound weight vest. So that it should be 40 pounds with the bucket. And I tested my IBT2s to see how long they would hold that 40-pound bucket at a 7-inch on a 7-inch lever arm. So I got one that held it for 12 seconds, one that held it for 20 seconds. This is an average over like 3 tests. Because I would basically run what is it called? This timer on whenever I turned on the power, and then I would run it until it failed, until basically the IBT2 hit its overcurrent protection. And then I did that 3 times, and you would have to reset the power supply every time. So it's a bit of a time-consuming thing to do. So I didn't test all of my IBT2s. I planned on it, which is why I have most of them out. But I only tested a handful of them, and I had one that went for 20 seconds, one that went for 12 seconds, one that went for 30 seconds. But the kicker is, when I swapped over the heatsink from the bottom side to the top side, almost every single one did worse. So swapping over the heat sinks is not as good as everybody thinks it is. I'm not sure if anyone else has figured this out or done any testing. I certainly would need to do a lot more to come to a solid conclusion, but it's on the preliminary test I've done. Moving that heat sink to the top actually makes them hit their overcurrent protection quicker, or their thermal protection quicker. So that's why I'm actually just keeping them all on the bottom. And when I added thermal paste to the bottom of the IBT2 that was able to hold the 40-pound weight at 7 inches for 30 seconds, when I swapped the heatsink to the top of the chip like this, and there was thermal paste on it, and then it performed a lot worse. I think it did like 18 seconds, or like significantly worse. And so then I moved it back around to the bottom, but it still had the thermal paste from the top of the chip on the bottom. After I did that, after the heatsink with thermal paste on the bottom of it, it basically ran indefinitely. I think I stopped it after like a minute and a half. It held the 40 pounds at 7 inches for a minute and a half, and then I just got tired of holding. Nothing else even came close to holding it that long, so I just called that an indefinite. So not all IBT2s can be treated equal. if you really want to run a load and run 24 volts, then you need to test them with a load and 24 volts. Or just go with Sabertooth, something that's more reliable. So, yeah, these IBT2s aren't as reliable as I would like, but they work for projects, and that's all that matters. So, I think that's just about it. I'm going to see if I can get any more articulation. I had to do a lot of work on the Gseat to get this to work. Actually, I almost totally forgot. I swapped out the wooden drums that I had here, just because they're flimsy and floppy, and any sort of any force that isn't directly transfer from this rod into this shaft into this connecting rod into this paddle is essentially wasted. It doesn't get transferred to the rider. And so I swapped those for drums, but fun little fact, these are two different diameter shafts. They are only a tiniest little bit different. And so, but the bearings that natively came on these wheels did not work. So I ended up having to get the bearings from the center wheel that went inside of this one. And I had to chop out the bolt patterns didn't align for the two. So I just had to chop out the bolt holes so that way they were basically slots so I could move the hub where it needed to be. It should be, yeah, okay, there, where you at? So yeah, there you can see I can't, no, I want you to focus on that. Yeah, I chopped those channels out to be able to fit that in there. That was a huge pain in the butt trying to work on that, but now those are a lot more solid. I had to change the mounting point for these. I basically just drilled a hole in the side of the hub and ran that through, and then welded tabs on there for the connecting rods like I did for those motors down there. But everything is working pretty well. I don't like the lack of articulation on these paddles here. I wish they would squeeze as much as these paddles do. Like, if the back paddles were as powerful as those paddles, it would be awesome. It would be great. But it would require 2 more wheelchair motors, which, you know, immediately increases the price of the chair by, you know, $70 if you can find them on eBay. And I don't know if I want to do that again. I might just scrap the whole thing. So anyway, wanted to show progress. It is pretty much done for right now. I'm gonna hold off and think about this more and see what I'm gonna do with it. I'll talk to you guys later.